session today still relatively relaxed. It's a nice word to say. Actually, we are a bit tight on budget, so there is no MC. I'll be the MC for the whole event. So we'll keep it relaxed. As I think I know probably 60–70% of the people sitting here, so I think this is fine for today. So first of all, I would like to welcome everyone to the event today. And I took the liberty to actually invent the name for it, as this is the second year we have this event, and decide to call it Composites Asia, if Jack doesn't mind. It's on it anyway. So welcome everyone to the Composites Asia 2017. Naming it like that, we intend that this event will continue on an annual basis here in the next few years. And this time, this is the second time we co-organize this event between Thai Composites Association and JEC Group. A quick introduction, my name is Danu Chotikaphanit. I'm currently the president of the Thai Composites Association, and I'm the chairman of the event. I'll be doing the welcome speech now, and I'll be your MC for the whole day, so you'll see me around a bit more. We need some volunteer for being the MC next year. So if anyone is interested, let me know right after or during the day. I'll organize it for next year. Before we will begin with the conference, I would like to take a moment to talk about our late King Bhumibol Adulyadej, whom I'm certain all of you know, that he has passed away on the 13th of October 2016. His tireless contribution to the country and the people was very well known, but also his skills in sports, music, writing, craftsmanship, and invention. It is particularly during the year of 1963 to 1967 that brought him to the use of composites. During those years, he has been designed and building several boats. The very first boat is an international enterprise class named Rajapatan, or Royal Pattern, which he actually used to race also against Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh, here in Thailand in 1965, together with 34 other sailors. In 1966 and 1966 and 1967, he has designed and built several international moth class or dinghies, for the one of you a bit less aware of the sailing world. And among them, the Super Moth, which is 11 feet by 4 feet 11 inches, and it weighed 34 kilograms. So this is actually the boat he had built himself. And although it's a wooden boat, to keep the weight down, he actually opted to use fiberglass as reinforcements from the inside. That's roughly 50 years ago, 1967. He used the boat to sail, and he actually even competed in one of the Siap game, the previous name for the current ASEAN game, and he actually won a gold medal in his class. So I would like to take a moment right now, just before we start, to ask everyone to stand up and join me in a moment of silence in honor of Thailand's father of the country, the late King Bhumibol Adulyadej. Thank you very much. There is actually one more anecdote from His Majesty the late King Bhumibol Adulyadej's work for the country that is related to fiberglass. And I would like to give you a quick story. After the tsunami hit in, I don't have the Christian year in my mind, it's in Buddhist year of 2546, which is 13 years ago. Okay, so during that year, the tsunami has actually wiped out thousands of boats of fishermen. So the Chai Patana Foundation, which is a private foundation owned by the king, sponsored by him, actually organized 560 fiberglass boat to be built and distributed to the fishermen. These were 10 and 11 meter boats. And it all went well. The fishermen liked them. They are light, they are strong. The only problem was when it's actually time to hand them out, the fishermen said, "We don't want it. We don't want them." To the surprise of the foundation, they asked why they didn't want fiberglass boats when it's stronger, lighter, better, and it's actually they even given it out for free. You probably know that there are beliefs among seamen that every boat actually has a safeguard goddess. In the Western world, it's even a figurehead. In Thai, we call it Mae Ya Nang, the grandmother of the ship. And the belief among the fishermen were that this safeguard goddess actually, like many other goddesses of trees, reside in wood, in trees. So suddenly, how can a fiberglass boat have a goddess? It doesn't work. It needs to be wood. So it was a big challenge for the organizing committee of the foundation. So in the end, what they did, and I need to forget that for a moment. Yep. In the end, what he did was that, so what if I could actually get a real person, a real goddess to come and bless your boat instead? And that is what they did. They asked the crown princess to actually come and actually bless the boat as a signature that she's inviting the safeguarding goddess to reside in those boats. So that was a true story from 13 years ago, so 2004, 2005, it was a year after. And I think this actually shows one very important challenge the composite industry have, which we sometime, in my mind, do not address enough. And that is the problem, the challenge of perception. We are in an era where composite is being used in all industries. And although we don't know it, but if you think for a moment, we're actually flying in plastic airplanes glued together. It's no longer metal airplanes being bolted or riveted together. We're sitting in basically plastic airplanes glued together. And that idea, I believe, even for composite people, for a moment is a bit weird, let alone normal people. So that's maybe an extreme one, but you touch into construction business, you touch into any sector of composites, and there is this weird feeling of moving from traditional material into composites in a way. So although it's not being spoken about so much, I believe all of us in the industry dealing with new markets, new users do come over this kind of issues every now and then. So having said that, let's quickly come back to our topic of today, the composites in automotive. This has been the first record of the use of composites in mass-produced cars. So in 1953, the Corvette opted for a fiberglass body panel instead of metal. And no, it was not for the reason of weight back then. It was simply for the reason of production volume. This car has only been built, 300 cars has only been built, and for that amount of cars, the use of composites, of fiberglass back then, has been the cheapest, the most economical solution. But I think you can already see the lightness, the weight benefit of this car demonstrated very clearly with that man, although an American probably, a strong one, carrying a whole body car in one hand. We have come a long way since then, and today the reason for using composites in automotive have moved on mainly for the sake of weight reduction. There's several weight reduction in pressure, be it for emission control, for internal combustion engines, or be it for driving range, for electric vehicle to come, or reducing numbers of batteries. Nowadays, I think the state of the art as of today for mass-produced cars, I don't talk supercars, for mass-produced cars, is probably still the BMW i3. And I believe we have really come a long way to be able to have a body in white carried by just two people. Or in fact, in the composite industry, we would like to refer to this piece of carbon, or this frame of a car, as body in black rather than body in white, as it signifies our carbon fiber use in it. But for a moment, let's face the truth. BMW, I believe, or to my knowledge, is still losing money on their i-Series. They, although it's more expensive than normal car, the cost to build it is still exceeding it. But having said that, I think the bold movement of BMW to actually decide to jump in, design a car having composite in their mind from the beginning, from scratch, and therefore do not use the black metal approach, has actually inspired so many other people in the industry to think, to develop, to try, to find solutions for composite in more mass-produced cars in all sorts of different ways. In particular, this BMW i3 project has actually achieved a few significant things which even the BMW people themselves admitted they haven't thought about in the beginning of the project. For example, this body in white, or body in black, is actually made of only about 150 pieces, when a traditional body in white is made of more like 450 to 500 pieces of metal welded together. These 150 pieces means that the production lead time, the investment in the assembly line is drastically reduced. Also, the compounding effect that it has created by reducing the weight, therefore the battery can sustain a longer range to a point where they can reduce one additional cell of the battery, which in turn reduces the weight again, which in turn means the structure can be slightly reduced, means they can reduce another battery cell. So this compounding effect of weight reduction actually is something also that is not so easily anticipated in the beginning, but was a result later on. The designer of the car, the optical designer, was actually a Chinese guy. The head of the design was also very happy because suddenly this electric car with all its mechanism, or the lack of the needed mechanism actually allow him for a much more flexible design of the car. And how to get in and out, no longer this, how you call it in the middle, the piece in the middle of your car where you cannot cross all the time. It's quite disturbing all the time. For electric cars, they don't have it anymore. So the designer was really, really happy. And last not least, they also have integrated a lot of recycling work into it. For example, using the offcut recycled into the roof of it. So there's many, many things that this BMW i3, being the first car in mass production to actually design itself or designed for the use of composite, has enabled the not just the automotive industry in my mind, but many other industries to actually consider composites in a large scale. The two challenges in implementing composites in various industries are usually down to knowledge, and then the conscious decision to design for composites from the beginning. We see so many mistakes, so many bad examples still today, even in the automotive industry my company is in, where customers just take a metal piece or plastic piece and say, yeah, we want that in carbon fiber. Yep, most of the time it gets lighter, not always, and sure, every time it is getting so expensive that only the supercar can afford them. So this is really one of the biggest challenge, and I hope today in the various speaker and presentation, we will get ideas of examples in what can be done, what can be achieved if we design for composites from the beginning. There will be, I've peeked through some of the presentations, and I think we'll have actually a very exciting schedule in front of us today. How to overcome these two challenges of knowledge and design for composites? I believe the best way to overcome this is to actually by creating networks. And this is what JAC has been doing all the time. This is the task of Thai Composites Association. It's our task to create network. And this network is then in turn creating knowledge, is then sharing the ideas on how to design for composites, is matching the user who knows what they need to the composite experts who know how to build in composite, matching them to try to create a design that is suitable for composites, suitable for the material in the part, and suitable for the production method. And again, the event today is aiming at doing exactly that. So we hope the speaker later on will give good knowledge for us. Although the half an hour each speaker will talk is still usually pretty limited, and therefore we have intentionally put in half an hour breaks in the morning, an hour and a half lunch break, and some more time after the event between 4:30 and 6 o'clock. We can still use this room with some small snacks, creating an opportunity for participants to actually network and share and create projects. From the event last year, just what I know, my company Cobra, we have at least 3 projects we have created in relation to the people we have met here last year. And I hope that we will do it again this year, not just Cobra, but everyone here. I hope we will get connections, projects created by connecting everyone who is here with each other. The network we are trying to create covers users from various industries. Today we have quite a few from the automotive industry ourselves here, partnering with manufacturers of parts. From seeing the registrations, I think we have probably about 30–40% of the people in this room coming from them being actually manufacturers. Quite a few in the back there I can see from various sectors, but many of you in composites as well. We also want to connect suppliers as suppliers of materials are actually the one who see the use of composites in all sorts of different industry and have more in-depth understanding of the material and can share that with the manufacturers. The research and academic, we actually have people from at least 4 or 5 different universities. One of the leading Thai university, King Mongkut University of Thonburi as well, will be here with one of their development projects on the right-hand side, a carbon fiber car, carbon fiber wheel. So Ajahn Sontipi will probably in the crowd somewhere. I cannot see him right now, but he will be here himself. And last not least, it is thanks to all the participants today, and I really hope this event will be a great opportunity for everyone. I would like to take this last moment to thank all the support of the event, as this event would not have been possible, particularly for the speakers. We have a great team of 9 speakers today, one more than last year, and most of them actually bother to pay for their own tickets and fly over. A few of them even are so generous to support the event. Thank you for the speaker who are also the sponsors in the name of Shomara, Sigmatex, L&L Products. I would also like to thank the technical site visits companies tomorrow. One is Cobra Advanced Composites and the other one is Toray Carbon Magic. In fact, if we talk about high performance carbon fiber parts or manufacturers for the automotive industry here in Asia, of the 3 largest, 2 of them actually have plants here in Thailand, and we'll go and visit them tomorrow. The third one is sitting here as well. And we might have to fight who is number 1, 2, and 3, but we'll leave that for the private session later. Also, thank you for the Industrial Promotion Department, who had generously support the event. Thailand is actually, from a governmental point of view, a very interesting country in that this country is, the private sector of Thailand is very strong. And the government, if they would give you something or support you something, they usually do it upfront. So that's definitely the positive side, as opposed to some other countries where the government sometimes are very generous, I would say a bit later, and supporting events and so on. But then the private sector sometimes are not as strong. In Thailand, look at it from a positive side, all the struggling the private sector has to go through actually mean that the private sector in Thailand is really, really strong. Also, thank you for all other sponsors, as we have 6 sponsors here, including Dawa, including Cobra International and Aditya Birla Group for supporting the event. And JEC for co-hosting this with the Thai Composite Association. I'd like to extend my thanks to all committee and working team of the Thai Composite Association for creating this event. The French-Thai Chamber of Commerce for really supporting us and coordinating between JEC and TCA. And most importantly, I would like to thank all the participants, particularly the one of you who came a long way from abroad. We have a record this year of almost 200 registrations so far, about half of which actually from abroad, from over 25 countries. A big step up from last year actually. So we'll probably see some more coming throughout the day, and some of the registration will only meet tomorrow at the site visit, which by the way will have another session of networking for lunch, as both groups will have lunch in the same time in the same place. But the morning and afternoon sessions are different. We'll give you some more information about tomorrow later. So thank you again, everyone, and I really hope you would enjoy the speaker of today. Thank you. I would like to use this quick moment to ask all speakers and sponsors, and of course everyone from JEC and the committee of the Thai Composite Association to step up to the stage, and we'll take a quick group photo, and then we have that behind us, and then we can continue with our session today. Please, thank you. Step a bit more in front. Yeah, I think we'll have a few people. Wait for the official one.
Where is it?
Yeah, the one in the room. Yeah. There he is. So
No.
now. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
เชิญกรรมการอยู่แวบนะครับเราถ่ายรูปกรรมการอยู่ครับขอเฉพาะกรรมการอยู่แวบหนึ่งคุณออนคุณโรสครับคุณโรสกรรมการถ่ายรูปเชิญแวบหนึ่ง Yeah, one last picture of the TCA committee, and I just saw we missed one of our most beautiful committee member. Soกระจายออกปะที่นะมาใกล้ๆครับอุ้ยพี่ต้นเป็นไรขึ้นได้เปล่าโรส So we got the privilege of Kun Rose, our most beautiful committee member, to actually dress in our traditional Thai costume, and every one of you are welcome to actually have a picture with her later outside.ขอบคุณครับ ขอบคุณครับ ขอบคุณครับ Yes, and now we will begin with our first speaker, Mr. Thanawat Bunpradit. He's a Deputy Director on Audit and Assessment Division of Thailand Automotive Institute. He will give us an overview of the Thailand automotive industry for the next 30-40 minutes. Kun Thanawat is an industrial engineer from Thammasat University with an MBA in marketing from Suwandusit University. He started his career at Toyota Motors between 1995 to 2001. And since 2002, for the last 15 years, he has been part of the Thailand Automotive Institute. And we are very honored to have you here today to be able to listen to the experience, the 15 years of experience you have with Thailand automotive industry, the governing body of the automotive industry here in Thailand, to give us an overview. Please welcome Mr. Thanawat Bunpradit. Good
morning, everybody. My name is Thanawat Bunpradit. I am Deputy Vice President of Academic Department of Thailand Automotive Institute. My experience, I am familiar with automotive safety standard, audit factory about automotive in many countries in the world, and also I am the member who create master plan of the automotive in Thailand as well. Today I would like to present in 5 items. The first one I would like to present about Thailand Automotive Institute in overview. Thailand Automotive Institute, you can call us TAI. TAI is a non-profit organization under Ministry of Industry. Our mission is to promote and develop automotive industry to be competitive in global market. The second, I would like to present about automotive technology trend. Automotive technology trend, we focus on the main three items. The product in the future to be clean, fuel economy, and safety. The one of the main item that is the trend of automotive is to reduce carbon dioxide that affect to the global warming. So every country in the world, they try to reduce CO2 as well. And the second one, the trend is to improve about the fuel consumption by developing engine and transmission. And the next one, the trend of automotive in the world, we will go to the lightweight material, both lighter and smaller. And another trend is about to develop safety technology to protect accident and reduce injury when have the accident. And in the future, the trend will using control system by electric to replace the mechanic system. And the next generation of the vehicle in the future, we will go to PHEV, plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, BEV, battery electric vehicle, and also FCV, fuel cell vehicle. And the last one about autonomous driving. In this picture, you can see that the main country in the world, they have to reduce the carbon dioxide every year. And for the European country, they have the target in 2020 to reduce carbon dioxide to 95 grams per kilometer. And if we talk about the trend of the automotive product, we forecast that from 2020, electric propelled car will occupy the mainstream in the automotive sector. And this is the sample of the fuel cell vehicle. The fuel cell vehicle right now already launched for the commercial in Japan. And how does it work? It starts from the hydrogen from the tank, then it goes to the fuel cell stack to have the chemical reaction, then create the electric to drive the motor to drive the car. And the output, the hydrogen will combine together with oxygen to be water, and it become zero emission. And this is the trend of the lightweight material. In this picture, you can see that if we use internal combustion engine, we use the steel. But if we go to hybrid electric vehicle or plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, we will use steel and more of the lightweight material such as aluminum, high tensile strength steel. And if we go to battery electric vehicle or fuel cell, we will use more composite material. And trend of the future in the world and in Thailand as well, we will use more and more lightweight material. This is the sample of the BMW i3. BMW i3 is the representative of electric vehicle. In case of the BMW i3, it used almost of the body of BMW i3 used alternative lightweight material such as aluminum drive module, passenger cell made from carbon fiber composites, roof made with the recycled carbon fiber, interior complex recycled material and other composites. For the exterior door made from thermoplastic. And this is this picture. You can see that technology of the production of the body of the vehicle will change. Right now, for the body of the car made from steel, we start from the stamping and then go to the welding process. And if in the future, if we use more lightweight material, we start from the resin transfer more carbon fiber, then we have the robot to like assembly the body by gluing. And this is the sample of the one of the electric vehicle that have good sale in USA, the Tesla. And I think in the near future, the electric vehicle will become more and more popular. And if we use electric vehicle, the one thing that it is important is the charging station. Right now in Thailand, we don't have so much charging station, but the car manufacturer try to install the charging station in the department store and some public area. And in the future, if we use more electric vehicle, we have to install more charging station. And another trend of the automotive technology is the ITS system. ITS system, it comes from Thailand Intelligent Transportation System Technology. It is technology that integrates among the driver, the car, and the infrastructure. The purpose is to protect the accident and make a convenience for the driver. This is the one of the ITS system that warning the driver to brake before to have the accident. And this is the autonomous driving technology. In the future, we don't need to drive a car. The car drive by themselves automatically, and then we just relax in the car, or we can have a meeting in the car. Number 3, I will present about Thailand automotive industry and government policy. Thailand policy, Thailand is to be production base of the car. So there are many of the international brands use Thailand to be to have the factory in the car for the car in Thailand to have production of the vehicle. And this is the ranking of the production in Thailand in 2015. Thailand is number 12. The total volume nearly to 2 million, and more than half of them we export to foreign country. But if we talk about electric vehicle, right now already have a total sale more than 1 million, and I think in the future will increasing day by day. And this picture show you about automotive supply chain in Thailand. We have car companies, about 17 companies, and motorcycle we have 7 companies. Then we have first tier and second tier. Totally we have employee about 690,000 employees for the automotive supply chain, and we can say that if we compare to another country in ASEAN, Thailand right now is number 1 and is the one of the key factor that car manufacturer select Thai to be hub of the production. And government policy right now, they support automotive industry as well, and they have many policy to support, such as springboard to develop productivity standard and innovation, to support about S-curve and new S-curve technology, such as the future vehicle. For the future vehicle, we can say that it is electric vehicle and plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, or FCV as well, and aviation and logistics and rail. So in the future, TI law, we have to respond about aviation and rail as well. And our government also support about Eastern Economic Corridor to make more investment in this area, in Eastern area. If we talk about the safety standard in Thailand, safety standard in Thailand, the trend we will adopt European standard to enforce in Thailand. Right now, we already adopt safety belt standard is from the ECE number 16, safety glass for ECE number 43, and for the emission ECE 83. So three of them already adopt for the compulsory standard in Thailand. And then in the future, if we will adopt the compulsory standard in Thailand, we will consider ECE for the first. And this is to show you this picture to show you about testing facility about safety belt standard. Right now, in Thailand we don't have it, but in the future we have a plan to have it as well. This picture to show you about the policy about CO2 to drive in excise tax. Current excise tax, we use CO2 for the to the main item to consider the excise tax. If the car emit lower CO2 for the excise tax will become lower as well. And our government also support about electric vehicle, and if they get the promotion of BOI for the electric vehicle, they just pay only 2% of the excise tax. And for if we talk about emission standard in Thailand, right now we are Euro 4, and we have a plan to adopt Euro 5 or Euro 6 in 2023. Right now on the discussion. And our government also have the project to support about eco-car phase 2 as well. For the eco-car phase 2, we will have more stringent criteria than eco-car phase 1, such as the Euro, we will enforce about Euro 5. And for the safety, they have to pass the ECE 94 and 95, and including the brake as well, ECE 13. So the fourth one, I would like to present about new law of Thailand Automotive Institute. To follow government policy, so our organization will take the new loan to cover automotive industry, both current vehicle and future vehicle, and we will cover aviation and rail industry as well. So our mission is to develop Thai supplier to produce component part of the aviation and rail as well. And in the field, and right now we have the testing vehicle testing center in Chachengsao province as well. For the first phase, we will launch ECE 117 about tire standard. We will have the wet grip standard and pass-by noise standard as well. And in our organization, we also consider about the electric vehicle technology. So we will have the technology and innovation learning center for electric vehicle as well. We will have the opening ceremony on this Friday. And the last one about the challenge of Thailand to maintain the production base of automotive industry. The first one, material global sourcing, because automotive industry right now, they have a policy about material global sourcing. So if they have the car production in Thailand, they might select the component part from foreign country, but for the Thai supplier, we have to improve productivity to reduce the cost to compete with other suppliers in foreign country. And in the future, we will have more trade in ASEAN and Asia. And for the innovation, we will change to be clean and safety and use more electric system. And of course, to use more ITS system. And the product technology will be use more automation and robot. And in the future, we have to develop productivity and skilled labor, especially how to use the robot and machine. And of course, the one of the important thing is to use more lightweight material is one key success to develop Thai automotive industry. Thank you very much.
Any questions from the audience? Okay, no. In that case, thank you very much. I'll actually we have a small token of appreciation for you. Put this away. Thank you very much, คุณธนภัทร บุญประดิษฐ์ We will now head into a shorter break. So have to cut the break short by about 15 minutes. So we will start again by in 15 minutes, 20 past 10. The break is right here, and I believe slightly outside of the door. You can have refreshments as well. You can also take the opportunity to take some photos with our lovely committee member, Kun Rose. And outside we have a photo booth, basically. You can print out the photos immediately, get it on a magnet to put back on your refrigerator at home. So thank you very much, and we'll resume in 15 minutes. Thank you.
After two presentations, I'm going to repeat some things that were already mentioned. So anyway,
BMW i3 as well.
Second bus will depart at about 7:30. So for more information, you can actually ask from the registration counter, which is on the way in from to this ballroom. So if you would like to confirm your registration and about the site visit, can you please make sure that you sign up your name and take your time at the registration desk outside? Thank you.
สวัสดีค่ะสำหรับคนไทยนะคะก็อย่างที่น้องพัดโตแจ้งนะคะจะมีบัส2คันคันแรกออกที่โรงแรมภูมิยันจี8 โมงเช้าคุณออนจะเป็นหัวหน้าบัสนะคะเป็นคนดูแลออก8 โมงไปถึงคอบราประมาณ10 โมงทานข้าวเที่ยงเสร็จออกไปคาร์บอนเมจิกกลับมาถึงภูมิยันจีน่าจะประมาณ6 โมงถึง1 ทุ่มนะคะเพราะว่าไกลหน่อยสำหรับคาร์บอนเมจิกออกสายแต่ว่ากลับออกสายแล้วก็กลับช้าแต่ที่โลตัสบางนาคันที่2นะคะจะไปคาร์บอนเมจิกก่อนเพราะฉะนั้นเราจะต้องออกเช้านิดนึง7 โมงครึ่งนะคะที่โลตัสบางนากุ้งจะเป็นคนดูแลในส่วนของบัสที่2ไปคาร์บอนเมจิกก่อนแล้วก็เราก็กลับมาทานข้าวเที่ยงที่คอบราดูคอบราเสร็จกลับมาถึงบางนาไม่น่าจะเกิน5 โมงเย็นนะคะทุกท่านกรุณาไปลงชื่อที่เคาน์เตอร์ด้านหน้านะคะให้เวลาถึงเที่ยงถ้าเลยเที่ยงแล้วไม่รับแล้วก็ไม่ให้เอารถส่วนตัวไปนะคะเนื่องจากมันวุ่นวายไม่ใช่วุ่นวายไม่ค่อยสะดวกในการจัดการนะคะขอก่อนเที่ยงนะคะก่อนที่จะลงชื่อเดี๋ยวเราจะแจกบัตรรับประทานอาหารให้ที่หน้าประตูสำหรับคนไทยกรุณากรอกเอกสารให้ด้วยนะคะน้องแจมแล้วเดี๋ยวเราทานข้าวกลางวันพร้อมกันนะคะรบกวนนิดนึงสำหรับเรื่องรถ
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome you back to the next session. We have this morning still 3 speakers to go, starting with Daniel from JEC, and then we have Amon from Autotech Polymers, and the last one just before lunch break is Dr. Florian from Composites cluster in Singapore. So if you would take your seats, it's okay if you bring in your coffee and even some snacks still. Just please take your seat and we will start shortly. Welcome our next speaker, Daniel Ajada. Yeah, I'll still make a quick introduction. Yeah, so Daniel will give us deliver the keynote on an overview in the automotive composites. Daniel is the COO and Secretary General of JEC Group. His background is in a Master of Science in Polymer Science and Technologies, a Post-Master of Science on Plastics and Composites Processing, and an MBA from HEC Paris. Daniel has over 25 years experience in the plastics and composites industries. in particular in the automotive industry within OEM and tiers suppliers, but as well in other business segments such as construction, sports, and biocomposites. Please help me welcome Daniel one more time.
Thank you, Danu, for this kind introduction. So, good morning, everyone. So, my name is Daniel Ejeda, and of course, after two presentations, there will be maybe some slides that were already presented, but I will go first on that. So, I'm going to make a short overview on the automotive, composites in automotive. I will try to give our view on what is the state of the art of this industry, what are the challenges, and maybe what we think the future steps. So I have to play with the two. So a few words about JC. So most of you know JC. So we are an international organization fully dedicated to the composite industry. We are generalists. We cover all segments, means not only automotive, but many other segments, construction, sports, electronics, aerospace, and so forth. Our role is to inform, educate the market, and to organize networking events. We believe that networking is important to move forward this industry. So we are strong in innovation and business platforms. We believe in cross-fertilization. So we try to make sure that people connect, bridge, to exchange their expertise. And we operate internationally. So we have a strong media group. And so here we have with us the editor-in-chief of Czech magazine. So if you want to submit a paper, I think it's a good time to talk with Fredrik here on my left later on. And of course, we have other information services and different events. So internationally, so we are headquartered in Paris. We have also an office in Singapore and North America. And we organize a bunch of events worldwide. So it's not only Europe, it's Asia. Asia in different forms. It can be either exhibition or networking events or conferences, forums. And also in the States, we do pretty much the same. So just agenda of type of events we do organize. We just finished event in the States, which was the future of composite in construction. Because construction is also a very important segment for the composite industry. Next event is going to be in Asia. So on the right side of the room, you will have all the information so you need to know about this event. It's going to happen in Seoul, Korea, first week of November. We have another automotive forum in America that's going to be in November. And of course, you have the flagship, the big international event for JEC World in Paris in March. So composites worldwide in few words. So I will move from a global picture to move step by step towards composites in automotive. So of course, it's a growing market supported by two major drivers. Of course, the economic growth in emerging countries, and I will come back later on that, and the innovation trend in many sectors, in particular automotive. So the emergence of Asia as being one of the major markets in the future for our industry, in particular China. I will come back also on that. And then, of course, the role of North America in Europe for innovation and high-end composite applications. And, of course, we can see that midterm, and that will support the growth of composite, there will be a technology catch-up also from the Asian countries. So in this slide, you have the split of the composite market worldwide, and you can see, as I mentioned, that Asia is already a big portion of the global composite market, with 43%, followed by North America, Europe, and the rest of the world. So here you have the forecasted growth. Again, you can see that in the growth, China has a big portion of the future growth. But important for all of us, not only for Asia, but worldwide, is that our industry has a steady growth overall. It's not a double digit, but when you compare to other industries, it's still an interesting overall market growth. So here you have the split per segment fields. So you have all the different applications. And you can see that when you look at the volumes, the important markets are transportation, overall, construction, as I mentioned. Construction is already and is going to be also an important segment for the future, and of course, other applications. So that's another view of the market split. So this is per application per region. So you can see that for transportation, of course, so far Europe is pretty much advanced. You've seen also already this morning few interesting applications showing the penetration of composites. And of course, we'll come back later on that. So this slide is the development of the carbon fiber demand for the next years. So it's interesting information because you can see that there is already a forecast of high demand in the carbon fiber for the future, in particular, again, for automotive. Not only for automotive, you can see also that wind energy is going to be an important consumer of carbon fiber. With other kind of applications, but we already foresee that there will be a strong demand in carbon fiber, which I will not show here. Important information when you see this carbon fiber demand, it's not only the demand, it's also if the industry will be able to supply the material. I have another slide, but not here, that we can show that the carbon fiber let's say, manufacturing capabilities are also following the future demand. So there is also already a lot of investment done worldwide to make sure that our industry will have the right material. I like this slide because it's always important for us to come back to reality. And the reality is that this industry has competition, and strong competition in many fields. And you can see the size of the composite industry compared to other materials. So if you compare to concrete, for example, in construction, steel, regular plastics, or other lightweight metals, we are still relatively small so far. So now I'm going to talk about the automotive in short words. So, of course, we mentioned that there was a big growth in the automotive development. And when you look at the figures from the 80s to now, the global vehicle production has increased by 125%, which is quite important. And the main events over the last past 10 years were, of course, the high growth of China. You all know that the automotive manufacturing capabilities increased a lot in China. And there was the crisis in Europe over the last 10 years. So that was also an important point when you look at the automotive development overall. So since 2010, the automotive production has increased continuously. So as I mentioned, in particular in Asia. But except for Europe, we are not yet recovered from the last crisis. So I will go fast on that one, okay? And of course, when you look at this development, we have still some questions because it's always nice to have an industry with development, but of course, we all have questions, in particular, what will be the future development of China? And of course, we hope that we won't have another crisis to slow down again this automotive industry development. But overall, the market is growing, supported by a strong China support. So what is impacting composite material development? So this morning you had already some few elements, but in particular two criteria. Of course, you have the environmental concerns. So this morning we already talked about emissions, waste management, end of life, but also economic trends. So these two leverages makes that there is a high potential for composites for the future. So from the environmental concern, of course, the emissions. So the opportunity open for composites, thanks to the capability to reduce weight, of course, is a very important point for CO2 emissions. Decreasing the weight of the vehicle is a big challenge for most of the OEMs. And of course, reducing weight has a direct contribution for that. Important also are the different trends. In particular, in Europe, there is a high trend to go back to normal fuel compared to diesel. Of course, the environmental concerns are pushing for that, but this has also an impact on the car design. So here, for example, you can see CO2 emissions from different type of vehicle. In red, you have the diesel. In red, you have the gasoline. In blue, you have the diesel. And of course, this is a challenge for all this industry. And you can see, of course, down that electrical vehicles have a very low emissions. And it's important to bear in mind that while these new cars are being developed, there is integration of a lot of new functions. It's more safety, more electronics, more elements, which makes that the car are getting heavier. And of course, when you integrate all that, you need to decrease the weight. And of course, decreasing weight means that composites become one material of choice. So we've been talking about CO2 emissions this morning, but there is still a kind of non-harmonious, non-homogeneous strategy worldwide for each countries of the world. So in some region of the world, you have mandatory or voluntary standards. So sometimes you can see that countries are measuring CO2 emissions in terms of gram per kilometer or gram per miles, or sometimes it's just consumption per 100 kilometers or miles per gallon. There are still a lot of disparity, differences in the way you measure the CO2 emissions, and step by step, we believe this is going to be concentrating in more uniform ways of measuring CO2 emissions. So you can see that there is a disparity in the targets and the different criteria depending on the region of the world. So this is one slide to show the CO2 emissions evolution. So that's one is from Volkswagen. That's for the American market. This is translated in miles or miles per gallon. And this one you saw this morning. Important to bear in mind is that overall, even though there is a disparity in the criteria and the requirement in terms of reduction of CO2 emissions, this is all converging towards a decrease. So this is important. And of course, important for composites because the standard materials, in particular steels, aluminum, have a limit in weight reduction. And this is where composites will take the lead when we will come to the limits from other materials. So economic trend, this is the second leverage, as I mentioned before. Important to know is that more people in the world have access to ownership of vehicle. In particular, the mid-range, the mid-size consumers. And there will be a double effect linked also that there will be more demand for low-cost vehicle in this demand, but also for premium vehicle, including SUVs. And this is a paradox. And of course, that means that when you look at the growth of the future demand, there will be more need to find alternative solutions. So as I mentioned, when you look at the mid-class development for the next years, and I mentioned China before, you can see that the big growth in the mid-class is coming from Asia. That's why I was referring again to Asia and China before. This is going to be in the future one of the important countries. So this new environment opens, of course, big opportunities for composite materials. So ecological concerns, which lead to weight decrease, new energy vehicles, which development of new type of parts, a new function for electric cars, a new shape, new design. Of course, consumers want to have more design and sexy cars. Globalization, we've been talking about material supply before, OEM strategies, and for manufacturing of small, medium series, composite is a very good alternative. And as I mentioned, integration of new functions, new attributes for these cars means that there is a weight reduction need to compensate all this integration. So this is a slide from BMW, Volkswagen, VW, which shows that over the different options to reduce CO2 emissions, when you look at aerodynamics, friction, driving train, I mean, the weight of the car has the most impact, well, has a very important impact in CO2 emissions. So this slide shows different electrical vehicles. So you saw one this morning, which is the BMW i3, the Tesla. It's just to mention that in Tesla, there is almost no composites, except maybe in the battery. Tesla is using aluminum and standard solutions. But you can see they have a big concern of weight reduction. The battery is very heavy, and in all those cars, the battery brings a lot of weight. And this weight has to be compensated by a weight reduction. So composites now in automotive. So as mentioned this morning, composite is not new in the automotive industry. When I started my career in the 80s, late 80s, I was already using and developing composite applications using, for example, BMC materials for lighting applications or BMC for hood or bumpers. So these materials, composite materials, are not new. What is new is that the traditional material used at that time had limits in terms of weight reduction. And of course, this is why you can see such a high development now into alternative material with carbon fiber, because of course, with carbon fiber applications, you can reduce more drastically the weight of these applications. So this is a projection of the weight decrease in cars with what will be the contribution of the different materials. So overall, you can see that there is a high demand in weight reduction. And when you look here at the slide, you can see that carbon fiber reinforced plastics has the most contribution to this weight saving. Even though I have to say that the other materials are also improving and also reducing weight. So few megatrends we see in the automotive segments. So we can see a consolidation of the value chain. There is a lot of M&As, a lot of strategic partnerships signed worldwide. And in particular, most OEMs are trying to secure their carbon fiber supplies. We see many consortiums established within key players in the supply chain to achieve breakthrough developments. This morning, Danu mentioned that consumption and working together is key, and you will see later on that we have few examples. When you look at competition, it's really putting all our efforts together that will make it happen. So reduce CO2 emissions and avoid paying penalties for weight saving. That's for the OEMs. So of course, lower cost. I mean, if you want to play in the automotive industry, I mean, cost performance, price performance ratio is an issue. Of course, low cost carbon fibers. Hybrid structures, you will see an example later. Of course, the BMW i3 is a good example, but I think that the industry is wondering if this is the right or the only solution to move forward. And of course, affordable, scalable manufacturing processes with faster materials, faster resins, thermoplastics, materials to go faster, and other type of applications. So I mentioned also, we mentioned this morning simulation, and Danu mentioned the black body. And of course, simulation is important because the purpose and one of the key of success for composite materials, of course, is to design with the right materials attributes. Defining maintenance and repair strategies. Of course, everybody's wondering how you repair your car after a crash. And recycling challenge and end of life is important. And of course, mentioned this morning by the Thai Association, the international, the supply of material and to get consistent materials between different countries of the world, it's important. So this one is from the material, but I will go fast. So as I mentioned, a high growth rate of thermoplastic penetration, of course, to go to faster processes with more injection or in-mold processes and using different kind of innovative applications and hybrid structures, faster polymer, I mentioned that already. So this slide is the usage of composites per car. So you can see maybe not much, but no, difficult. But on the right side, actually, you have the high-end luxury cars with the different potential of weight saving for different applications. And sorry, so the different composite penetration for different applications. And you can see in green that, of course, today, most of the penetration is in the high-end luxury cars, even though step by step, composite penetration is increasing also in mid-range cars. So this slide is the weight reduction potential by type of applications. And you can see here that the most weight saving potential is coming from semi-structures or chassis. And that's why this morning also you had a picture of the i3 chassis. And the chassis, of course, is one of the important part for weight saving overall. But of course, there are challenges in using lightweight materials. In particular, using composite material and carbon fibers. So of course, you have an issue with cost. Today, we have to admit that this is still an issue. And different concerns, like safety concerns. Of course, you replace traditional materials with new materials, so you have all this validation. Temperature resistance for some matrix, assembly, joining difficulties, and different other issues like repair, for example. So this slide actually shows you let's say the potential in weight saving, but in the other hand, the impact in cost. So you can see traditional material, so you have steel, high strength steel, aluminum. So of course, carbon fiber, reinforced plastic has the most potential for weight saving. But today, we have to admit that we still have to work on the cost performance of those solutions. So there is of course a bunch of lightweight technologies used to manufacture automotive parts. So this is a comparison with different other materials. So you can see that traditional glass composites are using different processes like compression molding, injection, RTM. Carbon fiber, pre-preg layup, resin infusion. So of course, when you saw this morning's i3 body, most of it is HP RTM. And here you have actually the lightweight material options in various applications. So body and white, as I mentioned, different closure fenders, powertrain, chassis or interiors. And again, you can see that for body and white and powertrain or chassis, there is a important room for weight reduction. Of course, for the OEMs, choosing a technology is always a trade-off. It's a cost-performance trade-off. So you have different solutions. Either it's carbon fiber or glass fiber with different matrix. It can be thermosets or thermoplastics. And it's a trade-off. And the trade-off is stiffness, strength, weight, and cost. So this is very important. So, okay, I will go fast. Of course, to convert all these materials, in particular thermoset, you have different bench of processes, but we'll go fast on that. So, few challenges in lightweight materials in automotive. So, plastics composites, so recycling of waste, material after use. Of course, you can imagine that manufacturing ICE3 chassis, and when you look at the complete assembly process, is bringing a lot of waste, and you have to get rid of all those wastes. And of course, the end of life. So the high cost compared to other lightweight solution, the lack of mass production technology, and manufacturing is a very important point, the assembly and the high repair cost. So when you look at the mass production and the different cost impacts, you can see different cost reduction potential from the different aspect of a product, from the different fibers, carbon, glass, matrix. But you can see that from the production method, there is a very high potential of saving. So just a few words about the BMW in general, because it's always an iconic case study for all of us. So we've been discussing about the i3. I will come back later. The i8. But when you look at BMW strategy, and we have a very important platform that was launched recently, it's the 7 Series. The 7 Series is showing something a little bit different. I will come back. So, of course, i3 is a reference for all of us in terms of weight saving. And of course, weight saving means CO2 emissions. So here, for BMW, the major factor driving the usage of carbon fiber were weight saving, so emissions reduction. So we mentioned part consolidation. Danu mentioned that for the i3, they moved from 450 components to roughly 40-50 components. So it's a drastic reduction in terms of parts, and in particular for small series in terms of tooling. So there is a huge saving there. Strength and safety gains, and efficiency improvement overall. Okay, so let me go fast on that. So I'm going to talk a few words about the BMW 7 Series, because I think that this is a next generation platform which shows a little bit what the automotive industry is maybe moving. So this is a nice platform because it is a mid-size volume. It's not a small volume, so we start going into a higher series. So you can see that there is a lot of composite material used, but it's a hybrid solution. And we are here in the philosophy of putting the right material at the right place. So a lot of different parts were produced in hybrid concept. So you can see pillars, roof, and many different parts with very innovative process. For example, this is a slide from Excel. For the B pillar, Excel has developed a very efficient way of producing the B pillars. So a new way of stacking together the material to match with higher cadence, higher output. So it's a fully automated process. Yes, just to mention that the manufacturing capabilities and technologies have to move and follow, of course, the demand in terms of output. So two words about some disruptions for the composite industry. So we've been talking about cost reduction in carbon fiber. We believe it's an important point because cost is one of the key. Improvement in productivity, and of course, mass customization. So for carbon fiber, of course, one of the issues being cost. Today, the industry has been starting their development using existing fibers. And of course, the existing fibers were not originally designed for automotive. So step by step, we are moving into more tailored carbon fiber to match the automotive demand. You can see here that, for example, the precursor the precursor of the carbon fiber, has an important impact in cost. And there are a lot of developments now to find new alternatives in the PAN precursor, using either lignin-based PAN or polyolefin-based PAN to support this cost reduction. The resin, a lot of suppliers are working on faster resin, the target being to have, so this is a thermoset picture, to have resin to work in the range of 1 to 2 minutes. 3D printing, so of course we are all hearing about 3D printing and what this is bringing to our industry. So this is bringing some attributes in particular for small series. For example, you can, for limited series, you can produce tooling using 3D printing or different components. And that technology, we believe, will progress. We progress with the use of also of composites, with carbon fiber, maybe carbon fiber nanotubes, or maybe other graphene additives. I don't know how much time I still have. 2 minutes. I'm going to go fast. So I wanted to present few, let's say, innovative applications. So I'm going to go fast. But it's just to mention this automotive industry is a very innovative industry. So whether it's from the manufacturing process, from the raw materials, from the fibers, there is a lot of movements and a lot of innovations supporting the penetration of composite applications. So here you have a picture of a braided structure. For example, for high pressure ATM, that's an important part. Different textiles, so maybe Shomara will later present new innovations on different textiles. Well, a bunch of applications. I'm going to go fast here. So there's different structural parts. This is the trunk parts. But you can see every time that you have consortiums, it's always groups of different companies working together to bring further all these applications. So that's for buses. This one is from Lamborghini. So Lamborghini is proposing a new way of producing carbon fiber parts. Actually, it's a compression molded carbon fiber, short carbon fiber bulk. It's like a BMC, but based on carbon fiber. It's called forged composites. And interesting is that it's a new way of producing automotive interior parts, for example, also bringing a new aesthetic approach with a different visual. So you can see different solutions. So that was from last year, but still on track. That was from this year. So again, you can see the consortium from all these different companies who developed a thermoplastic RTM application. And I'm going to accelerate on all those innovations, but you will have the information later. This is from Hyundai, but another consortium. That's for bumper application. It's a combination of different materials, of also different parts, structural parts for truck. And that's fast, but it's for these innovations. So in conclusion, so automotive is expected to be the largest growing segment in the future with a growth of 7%. But we believe that it's under the condition that what I presented find a solution. So of course it's the cost of material, it's the optimization of the different processes, and of course the manufacturing capabilities to go faster. So of course automation for mass production, optimal design for better price-performance ratio, the hybrid solutions, like for the 7 series, which is a kind of iconic, for me, example of where the industry is moving, and of course, many other innovations. But carbon fiber is definitely the important material for the future. In conclusion, from my side, So I believe personally that our industry, in particular the automotive industry, is at a crossroad. A crossroad is that for many years, we have been talking about the potential of composite materials. You can go in every conferences and everybody will tell you, yes, composite is the right material. We believe that this industry is going to be huge in the future, but we need to make decisions and we need to accelerate the investments now. Now because competition is not waiting. You have a lot of different materials. In particular, I can tell you that steel or aluminum or other materials are not waiting, that composites are taking the lead. So it's now the time for our industry to work together. I mentioned all the consortiums worldwide, and I have many examples of those consortiums working together. It's important. It's important because our industry, our competition is not within our industry. If you remember the size of composites compared to other materials, we are small. So I think it's our interest to work together, and yes, that's for me the only way to make it happen. So I've been faster at the end, but this is my message. Jake is working on that. We try to offer to the market different platforms, networking platforms. For example, we have launched what we call the Automotive Composite Circle. That's a way to put together the decision makers in one room to work together and exchange to move forward this penetration of composite materials. We have different forums worldwide, and I like the size of this forum. I think this is the right size to exchange and work together. And yes, that's what I wanted to tell you this morning. Thank you very much.
Anyone hear me? Right. The question is, we've had a few recent incidents where buildings have caught fire. We had yesterday a bus in Germany there appears to be nothing left. Danu made a good presentation about the perception of composites. We have an industry that's split from sort of high-end aerospace down to sort of construction end. And as you can imagine, there are very much strong concerns about not having material, not just is combustible, but what sort of toxicity of the smoke comes out, and how can this be addressed by Jack? Are you about to request industry to answer some of those questions? I mean, it's not on one of your.
It's going to be very difficult to answer in a few words.
It may be the start.
Well, I mean, you refer to different applications. I mean, you've been referring to construction. You mentioned the case of the building. You are referring to the automotive industry. I think that each industry still have different standards to date. Well, I have a background in the automotive industry. I can tell you that normally when a material is released, the material has to match the flammability test. In terms of combustion speed, I mean flammability speed, but also into emissions. So it's going to be difficult for me to answer that. For the construction side, you refer to the case of the building maybe in London. Difficult to answer, because today each country has a different code. And to be honest, I don't know which material were used at that time when they built this structure. I just can't tell you, because we're just back from a conference in Chicago talking about what are the challenges for composite materials. Of course, flammability, the flammability performance of the structure is important. Flammability is one of the key issues. Of course, you have other issues, but it's one of the key issues. There are solutions. So whether these solutions are implemented or not, I cannot tell you, because I don't know which materials were used in those particular cases. I just can tell you that we've been talking with a fire code specialist in the States, working on construction, and with other architects and specialists working on that. There are solutions. Of course, I don't know what happened. I don't know which material was used at that time. Just only reassure the community that there are solutions. That's all I can tell.
Thank you very much. Just to press you a little bit further, if I might, I think that if you look at the solutions that are available, I think what I'm requesting is perhaps a bit more information coming out of those forums, those scientists, those specialists who know about these things. I can think of one or two off the top of my head in Singapore, where I'm based, that have worked on this for most of their lives. Stephanie Fay, I don't know if you know her. And these are the sort of things where you need to highlight or mitigate against the perception that could be negative further down the line. And I think it's something that, you know, we all look at the strengths and the core requirements of composites. But if you're not looking at how the public perceives composites, do you want to be in a bus that's going to continue burning long after the fire's lit? Perhaps not. So it can have a direct effect on whether you look to manufacture from composites. Aerospace has been affected by that. The 787 almost faltered at the beginning because of fires. And the toxicity of smoke in the cabins, you know, alerted, you know, people to the point of, what do we do about this if it's a problem? So if these are not looked at in more detail, in a more coordinated fashion by industry, we could end up having a lot of good ideas, but no one really trusting to be in a vehicle built around these sort of these weird, wonderful products. It's just a challenge. Thank you.
Just to come back to the point of construction, I mean, there are fires also with traditional constructions. There are fires. Well, it happens that, unfortunately, there was this building using a lot of plastic components or panel on the facade that burned, but it also happens for other buildings. I think that, to my side, we are struggling from one important point. Internationally, when you look at the international picture, we have no representative. The composite industry, I mean, has no voice. In terms of international lobbying, you mentioned about communication and reassuring the public. I mean, there are some federations, there are some associations in some countries, not in all, but we don't have a global voice to reassure and explain the market that there are solutions, that our material can be safe in terms of flammability or emissions. We don't have that voice, and this is missing. There is big, like worldwide, from the lobbying standpoint, to support our industry. That's something that maybe in the future should be considered by the composite people. If you look at the metals, if you look at the metal industry, they have a strong lobbying international organization. That's the case with other materials as well. We don't have that in composites. Oops, sorry. So, but I agree. I mean, it's time also to reassure the public that it's not because we had unfortunate cases that this is the end of the world for those materials. So it's a question of communication, explaining with the right words.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Daniel. And we also, first of all, applause. I know you have received this already last year. So this one is not big. This one is Cobra.